Here we are today on our supposedly live stream that actually didn't work, but it's okay because I've got Deborah here and we're going to record this. So this is a recording, by the way, if you are watching this. And Deborah is here, our amazing stylist, remotely from another part of America. Welcome, Deborah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here and happy to answer any questions and help in any way I can.
You have a styling block with toppers with you so we can do some demonstrations. Before we go into the demonstration, so we get the best out of our time, let me just ask you some questions to just get us get the questions out the way that don't need any styling. We can blast those out the way, commonly asked things. So item has not been washed yet. Because our return conditions, we don't want washing and styling it. Otherwise, it can't be used again. So a lot of consumers, they receive their toppers, they gently put it on. It's got this ugly zigzag part, and they want to know what it's going to be like after it's styled and washed. Are the colors going to blend? Is it going to look different? Is it going to be shiny? Is it going to be less shiny? Can you please tell us your experience with Dimples toppers?
Absolutely. When the topper comes directly out of the packaging, it's very shiny. It does have the zigzag part. I like to try to take the factory off of it, if you will. And I understand that when you're deciding whether to keep it or not, you're not to shampoo it. Now, in the salon, I would shampoo it. However, when at home, you really can't shampoo it very much. So I would take a brush or a comb and brush the hair back through that zigzag part so the hair falls in a more natural pattern. Then you're going to find that you can get a part in the top without the zigzag, but the hair is still going to want to fall forward a little bit because that's how it comes from the factory. Sometimes what I do is I take a little bit of a water, like a spritz bottle, and I'll spritz down at the root area because all hair direction comes from the root. So if the root is moving in the correct direction, the hair will move in that direction. And right now the root is all coming forward. So it's forcing the hair to come towards the face a little bit. So if I spray the root
And what
area,
Deborah's doing, she's basically redirecting the where the hair is going, and that is possible
right,
with our Clio toppers and hair wigs because they're handmade. So you can, yeah, I'll let you go.
right.
Keep going.
Seeing that hair is 360, you can make it go any direction that you want it. You can part it in another place if you want it. They will come with the default center part. But if you spray a little bit, just a little bit of water and start moving that hair back with a brush or comb, and then just use the low setting on a blow dryer and dry those roots, moving away from the face, what you'll get is a much more realistic and natural look when you go to try it on. You want to get those roots dry because, like I said, all hair direction comes from the root. So this would be considered like a directional blow dry. So this one, we just kept it with the center part. But look at the
Wow,
difference already. It's fuller, it's got a nice part in it, and it's not going to be falling forward on the face.
fantastic. And then what after washing it, does you said there's some shine that comes from the factory? Does it become what happens with the
Right.
color and the shine and the color tone after washing the first wash with Dimples products?
What I find is after I shampoo it the first time, it's first of all the hairpiece gets fuller because when it's been packaged, it's all been compressed. So the hairpiece is very flat when you first get it. After I shampoo it and condition, and when you shampoo, you're going to want to hold the hairpiece. Let me just grab another one. I've got another one right here. Take it out with that famous zigzag part. You're going to hold the hairpiece like in the underneath part. So just put your hand there to support it. Let the water run through. Shampoo. Work your shampoo through. Rinse again. When you condition from the base down. You don't want to ever put conditioner up at the root area. If you put conditioner up here, it could make the knots become untied and the hairpiece will shed. All hairpieces shed. That's just the reality of hairpieces. But we want to do everything in our power to keep it from shedding too much. So when you put your conditioner on, start at the bottom, work it through the ends, rinse that all out, and then you're going to comb it out. And I like to use the leave-in conditioner either for the natural hair or for the synthetic. They have the revitalizing mist, and you spritz that on, again through the bottom, not at the top, and then you'll start combing from the bottom and comb all the tangles out from shampooing, and then you let it air dry as much as possible. Now, after you shampoo this, any color that you see, if it's a multi-tone piece, those colors will blend together better, because when hair is colored, the cuticle wants to stick to the hair next to it a little bit more. So after you shampoo it and condition it, that's going to diffuse the color throughout. It'll also take off that, I call it a silicone shine, that really, really shiny, and the hair will look much more natural and blend with your biological hair a lot better.
So that's got to be, I can understand for a consumer that receives a topper, that we have some conditions we have to put down, like, hey, we can't get this back if it's been washed and parted and this, because then you've customized it. They almost have to have this kind of like trust and leap of faith. And hopefully you've watched this video and you've heard what Deborah said. So what you get in the bag is not going to look good when you get it. Okay, it's going to look flat and compressed. It's going to look shinier. We're definitely talking about the human hair right now. Also with the synthetic too, it's going to look shinier. Yes. And then because it's got lowlights and highlights, after you wash it, it's going to not look so chunky with those lowlights and highlights. It's going to kind of blend together. Exactly. And look more natural, and also be a bit more fuller and not so flat. So it's literally like another piece after you wash it.
Yeah, it looks completely different, much better, much more natural. And what I would say is, when you're getting your topper and deciding whether it's the right topper for you, the things to focus on would be, does the color blend with your biological hair? First off. Secondly, does the base size cover your problem areas? If you have thinning just in the front, or in the front and your recede area, is the base big enough to give you enough hair to cover that area? A lot of the clients that I talk to have problems with the back of their head splitting where their natural colic is. So we want to make sure we get a base that's long enough, that's going to cover over that back area. So really, my suggestion would be, focus on color, making sure that the color is the right color for you. Secondly, is the base size correct for you? If those things add up, if that's what you like, then go ahead and either spritz it, comb it back to see if it lays the way you want it, or go ahead and shampoo it. I know that you can't return it after it's been shampooed and styled, but when you first get it, we're really focused on color and base shape more than, oh, this looks great straight out of the bag. I've never met a topper that I didn't have to do something to make it look great. Like when you first get one out, I don't care what brand it is. When you first get it out and put it on, it looks like, what? They can look wiggy, they look flat. They're not their best when they first come out of the package, but that's the way they have to ship them, because that's the way they're put together in the factory. So realize that it's not going to look as good as after you shampoo it or work with it a little bit to get it to the way you want it. So base size and color match, those are your two things you're looking at with your topper when you first get it. Once you decide that this is indeed the right color and the right coverage for you, that would be the base size, then you can go ahead and shampoo and style and do whatever you want to it to make it look more like your biological hair.
Something I know that top stylists do, like Deborah, if you happen to go to a stylist and get your topper from a stylist, the topper they show you has already had probably 1 hour of work done to it. Like, they're never going to show you a topper like, oh, I just got this in the mail, let me open the box, here you go, let's stick it on your head. They're never going to show you out the box. And also, oftentimes, the stylist will turn your chair around that you sit in. They'll put it on, get it all styled up, so you don't really see it being put on, and then they'll turn you around, and you'll be like, "Oh my God, this is ready to go. This is beautiful." So I just want you to have that knowledge and not have the expectation that it's going to look like that when it arrives in a box from no matter what brand you receive.
That's true. That's absolutely true. We spend a lot of time prepping, making sure that the hair is right. I would never, like I said, when people come in, I'm trying for the base and color size. I want to make sure the base is the right size for their coverage. The color is the perfect match. Then typically, if I didn't have it in stock, or I would have to order it. And if I did have it in stock, I've already shampooed and styled them because I want them to look their best when I'm presenting them to my client. So that's absolutely true, James. You know, we spend time getting them the way we want them to be. It's very easy. Like the client comes in, say this is her correct color, but she has a side part. So what we would do then is I would just take it, and again, I'd spritz it a little bit with some water. It's already been shampooed. And I would move the part over to another area, and then I'd blow dry the roots in the correct position. So that we can change the part. Because a lot of people say, oh, well, it comes in the center, but I really part it off to one side or the other side. So this is the way to change the part. And because these are hand tied, the hair is 360 degrees. It'll move in any direction that you want it to go in. So I just changed a center part to a side part with no trouble at all.
Wow. So, okay, Deborah's very quick at this. She did that in seconds. Just to also lower the expectation level, I've heard it can take 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of learning how to style your own topper and part it where you want until it like starts to look good and maybe you feel comfortable wearing it. Does that make sense, Deborah?
Absolutely, it does. And when clients would come in, that was one of my biggest things is I had to make sure that they were comfortable with it. You know, so we would spend a lot of time with them. Like I would put their topper on, it would look fantastic. They'd be like, "Oh, it's so great, I'm ready to go." I'm like, "No, you can't go yet." And they'd be like, "What?" And I'd say, "Well, I need you to take it off and put it on. Take it off and put it on. Take it off and put it on." We need it at least 3 times before I know that they can successfully, put the topper on and remove the topper so that it looks good, so that they're comfortable wearing it. Because if they can't do it, it doesn't work for anybody. It doesn't work for me as a stylist. It doesn't work for them. They've, spent money and they're not happy. That's not what we want. So I would make them take it off and put it on at least 3 times successfully. And a lot of times it took like 5 or 6 times, because the first time you do it, you're not going to be good at it. It's like learning anything. The first time you drove a car, you weren't great at it. You were nervous, right? Now you get in the car, you start it, you get to your destination, and you don't even remember how you got there, but you safely did it. I had clients that would actually take their hair pieces with them in the car in the morning and clip them on while they're driving to work, because they've done it for so long that they know how to do it, where the clips go. It's not a big problem. But do you think they could do that when they first got it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And it's also super scary too. If you've never worn a topper, I can even say, when I first started with Dimples, it was like there was hair all over my desk. You see this like this thing there with hair, and it's like, what the heck? Especially if you got a large base. The smaller little bases, if you're new and you're just trying it out, it's like almost like a little ponytail edition, but it can seem intimidating if you're a first time owner, and it's also very easy to look at the bag, take it out, just like plop it on your head and be like, oh no, this doesn't work. And it's like really like almost the last part of the journey. There's all these other parts of the journey that we talk about in our show, Beyond the Head Start. Please check it out on our website
Right.
with our interviews. Deborah, you're up, I think, next, or the next one. We interviewed Deborah.
Yeah.
We hear about Deborah's story and how working with clients. But yeah, that's, you know, is it the right color? Is it the right size? Like there's a checklist. We also have a little card that goes in, like it's like 5 things. You know, if I've got the right size, if I've got the right length, and then color, especially with the human hair, the color is not always going to match. Mostly it's not, especially for blondes. I always tell everyone so much harder for blondes to match because there's somehow a million
Yes.
different tones. Brunettes, the darker the brunette you are, the easier it is. And as a rule of
Right.
thumb, Deborah, would you say it's better to go a shade lighter than your bio hair or darker than your bio hair for your topper?
Most people, if they put a darker one on, they really dislike it. So I try to match it as closely as possible, but err on the side of lighter if you have to make a decision, because it's very easy for a colorist to change the tone to match your biological hair really well. But if it's darker, it's much harder for the stylist to lighten it. One thing I like about the dimples toppers, though, is the fact that I can lighten them because it's not done the textile dyes as, you know, before when I would try to lighten toppers, sometimes they would turn pink or blue or even green. And with this, I don't have that problem at all. It lightens nicely. And I do a lot of customization for clients. Like they want the money piece around the front, or they want a few more highlights, or if it's too light, they want me to tone it down a little bit and put some low lights in. Very common and very easy for a colorist to do that for you with the dimples pieces.
Deborah, I'm just going to say, Deborah is very advanced at what she does. Deborah trains stylists on how to color. She sold her business is plural twice. Okay. So I always don't recommend to lighten, but just because Deborah really, really is very amazing at what she does, she's able to lighten toppers because you can easily damage a topper because it's already been processed.
Yeah,
It's always easier to low light, but um, perfect segue. If you do want to customize your topper, you want to get color in it, and you want to have some face framing cut in, we can connect you with Deborah, and Deborah has her own price list. We can send your topper to Deborah, and Deborah can wash, cut, color just with pictures, right?
absolutely. Yeah, and we would do a probably a Zoom call so that we make sure that everyone's on the same page. That I know exactly what your vision is for your topper. Because if you know, like I might think it would look good one way, but if you have a very specific thing that you want, a placement of color or a tone, that's really important that we communicate that. So we use a lot of photographs. We use a one-on-one consultation, and then when I'm 100% certain of what we're doing, I proceed with the process. It takes me about a week because toppers can be unpredictable when you color them. So sometimes I have to color them more than once to get the absolute, perfect desired result. But then I style it. If you want a little face framing layers, I put those in, and then I'll ship it back to you.
That's incredible. So I think one thing COVID got us doing is doing things like this. I mean, this is
Right.
insane. Being able to face frame cuts, so you can do it on a head, looking at a picture,
Yes.
and then cut. I mean, that's some real great talent. So we'll share some information on how we can connect you with Deborah for that custom experience, and it will look amazing. Guarantee. I mean, I've seen Deborah's work, and basically, you're going to get a topper that's ready to wear, you know, and styled probably, you know, if you want a left part. So that's, I mean, because toppers, you have to blend it with your bio hair. You're always going to see bio hair. Wigs are easier. You just put the wig on. It doesn't have to be
Put the
colored.
wig
Yeah.
on.
Um, you
Exactly.
you can get away with not coloring it by getting your topper to be lighter, because your bio hair that shows underneath it, it's going to look like the darker hair that's underneath, which we naturally have anyway. But ideally,
Right.
custom coloring and a little bit of face framing is great. With our dimples, toppers, and wigs, we don't cut styling because we kind of make it so if you want those long bangs in the front, you can have it. So it's all the same length all over. So other things. Tell us about the tools that a consumer would need to be able to do what you're doing, and is it better to style the topper clipped in on their head or better to be on a block?
Yeah, well, I don't use anything particularly fancy. I mean, I do have some professional tools, but the things I like to buy are things that are available to the consumer as well, because I want my clients to understand that they can recreate these looks at home using the same sort of things that I use. A nice blow dryer with a directional nozzle. One of the problems that I see a lot of times is people take the nozzle off. Oh, I can't even get mine off, but but if the nozzle's off, the hair flies everywhere. But when the nozzle's on, the hair goes directly where I want it. So if you buy a new blow dryer, make sure it has a directional nozzle on it and get used to using that. That is a really important tool. Like when I was showing you the directional blow dry before, if this didn't have a nozzle on it, this hair would fly all over the place and I'd have little sprouts coming out everywhere, where with the directional nozzle, I can put the air exactly where I need it to be. It's also really nice when you're doing a blow dry if you're with a blow dry and a brush. Now I have a wig stand or wig block, but you can do this on a styrofoam head, which I know that are available really easily at like Hobby Lobby has them, Amazon has them, very inexpensive. And if you do end up buying a wig block, it's a canvas wig block with a cork filling. They're really nice, but not everybody wants to go all out like that. So it would come with a little stand that you can put on like a table so you can work on the hairpiece. But a lot of my clients just use the styrofoam heads. They would put their hairpiece on the styrofoam head, hold it between their knees while they're sitting down, and pretend that they were hairdressers and blow dry and curl and do that sort of thing. You can put them on your head and style them as well. However, if your bio hair is fragile, you might put too much tension on and there's the possibility that you could cause some breakage. Now, all my clients wanted to keep their bio hair, as much of it as they had. So I didn't really recommend that. The only thing I recommend doing while it's on your head is curling it, really. You could maybe use a flat iron too, but I wouldn't curl it too much, or I wouldn't do that so much on a mannequin head or a wig block. I like the Babyliss Pro curling iron, easily and readily available. And I also use a Babyliss flat iron. They're very easy to find. I would recommend you get a water bottle, a spritzing water bottle. These are great. It'll be one of your most used tools if you want something to just move in another direction. You can either use the leave-in conditioner or the water, but after you use the leave-in conditioner a few times, it could build up on the hair and you'd have to shampoo again. So you don't want to do that too much. You can buy some clips, any kind. You can buy long ones like this or just these short little roller clips, which will come in handy when I'm showing you how to curl a synthetic hairpiece, because curling a synthetic hairpiece is very different than curling a human hairpiece. And obviously the Dimples shampoo, conditioner, and styling products would be imperative for you to have because they're designed specifically for this hair. And in my practice, the only leave-in conditioner I ever used was the Dimples one because it just leaves the hair so nicely. Again, when you're spritzing it on, don't put it down at the root area. So you just don't want anything that could untie those knots.
Okay, brilliant. So just to recap, it's great to buy a head that has a clamp. And that, I think it's what, $20 or $30 for something like that on Amazon?
Yeah,
Great.
And then I think it's $23
and then
for
it
this
comes with
exact
bobby pins, so you can
styling
gently
head
pin
block.
in the topper. And it's ideally if you can pin it through the polyurethane perimeter. It's a very thin perimeter, but if you can get it in the perimeter, it's better than sticking it in the mono area, by the way.
Yeah.
Because you'll see it'll be a big hole in the mono area. So head pins, the head comes with a clamp. You showed a hairdryer with a nozzle and a flat iron as well, and a spritzer bottle, curling iron, and some clips. And you also said it's best to style
Iron.
on a head, but if you're going to curl,
Some
you can put
clips.
the topper on.
I agree with that 100%. Also, if you're shampooing your hairpiece, be it the synthetic or the human hair, I prefer that you let it dry almost all the way by itself before you style it. You know, it's just much more gentle on the hair. Your hairpiece will last you longer. It dries with a nice soft beach wave, not synthetic. Synthetic will dry however it was before you shampooed it. But like if it's curly, when you shampoo it, it'll come back curly still. If it's straight, it'll still be straight. But I recommend you dry it mostly by itself. If you don't have a wig block, some people put it on like a tall 2-liter soda bottle so that it hangs down. Some people, I've seen them put it on the top of their lamps, but don't turn your lamp on because it's hot. Anything that'll give it the shape and let the hair dry. And when it's almost dry or fully dry, then you can blow dry and put it on. A lot of people will finish it while they're wearing it on their scalp, but like I said, be careful not to put too much tension on it if it's clipped in, because we don't want to damage your biological hair. If you're pulling on it, it's just traction alopecia. It's mechanical damage. You can't help it.
And having the hair on a block in front of you, it's almost like more fun. You can like see it from all angles, and it's like, you
It
know,
is.
I don't know, to me
It is.
it's rather than up here, you'd have to have your arms raised up. That must be more
Yes.
difficult. So
And
I'm
the wig blocks are about $25, but if you can also just get a styrofoam head. You don't need to have the wig block. I mean, the wig block is great. I always use them, but the styrofoam heads in the salon, when I would prep a piece, I would store it on a styrofoam head. So when you take it off at the end of the day, put it on your styrofoam head or on your wig block and let it hold the shape. Because if you take it off and just throw it in the corner, on a chair, it's not going to look good when you put it back on. And you don't want to. The better you treat it, the longer it's going to last, the better it's going to look. All of that. I had clients that had multiple hair pieces that would basically just like take them off and, like I say, throw them on a chair and then wonder why it didn't look so good the next day. Treat it gently. This is a big investment.
good point. Are you saying when you're storing your topper and not wearing it to always put it on a head?
Yes, but if you travel with it, I recommend wrapping it in a silk scarf. Put it in a hairnet, wrap it in a silk scarf, and travel with it in your bag. And then when you get there, you can fluff it back up. In the salon, we would always give a little silk bag with people so people could take them traveling, because some people don't want to wear them while they're traveling, but they want to have the hairpiece with them.
And I was just wondering if anyone's done this. Has anyone? I mean, I'm so curious. If you haven't, it's a great prank. You could take your topper and put it on a head, and then put it in your bed, and then your partner, hang it out the side of it, and then your partner could see that. I think that would be hilarious. Like a different color than yours. That would be a great prank. So, okay,
How crazy.
so we've answered a lot of things. I'm just looking at my list on my other screen of
Yeah.
consumer questions. I've had a few consumers saying, I don't have enough bio hair in the front. How do I wear a topper?
Right. So if you don't have a lot of bio hair in the front, typically we recommend that you put your topper 1 to 2 finger widths back from your natural hairline. So it's a little harder to see because I wear a full bang, but my natural hairline's back here. So if I didn't have a lot of bio hair, I would put it right at the front there. If you don't have enough hair to clip it in at the front, have your stylist, or you can do it yourself, move your clips over to the side where you do have some bio hair for it to hold on. So I would take the clip off of the very, very front and maybe move these two up to right here. And that way, if they have bio hair there, they can clip it on. Another thing they can do is some people use lace front tape that they can buy like at a wig store, and they put a little piece of lace front tape right here, and then they'll attach their hairpiece with the lace front tape right to the skin of the scalp. They can do that, but I still would move those clips a little bit higher. It's a simple sewing. You just unfasten it, it's sewn on, and move it up. And so you have a little bit more security right on those front areas. Another product that people use is out in the drugstore. It's called Got to Be, and they use that and put it on, and the hairpiece will stick to that and it won't move. And that's really big in the wig community. The wig community, a lot of people use the Got to Be around the hairline so the hair doesn't move. So those are ways that you can still wear a topper even if you don't have a lot of bio hair in the front. And you can wear them right up to the front because these fronts are so natural, and they have underventing all through the front. Underventing is little hairs that are sewn into the polyurethane edge. So with the underventing, it creates a very natural looking scalp. So you could wear it right to the very front. No one would ever know that you were wearing a hairpiece.
And the safest thing to do is to wear a bang. If you're ever worried about that transition edge and you're like, oh, I don't want to see that thing, just unfortunately, just if you're okay with wearing a bang style, like just hair or a fringe, as we say in England, going down over your head, that's always easier. I loved seeing you just like whip on that toppy, like you did it so quick. It was like a whip. It like flew over. I guess you don't want to do it slowly, right? If you do it slowly, it's just going to fall over your face. Is that right?
It could be kind of tangled. If you don't want to whip it over, you could just bring it back like this and put it on too. But yeah, go around the back of your head. But I like to just like flip it over. But remember, I've been doing this for years and years and years. I make everything look really easy. Anybody who's good at anything makes it look like it's easy. Anything, piano playing, ice skating, whatever. So I've just been doing it for a really long time. So one thing that I was going to mention, James, is if people don't really want a bang, but they still are worried about the transition, they can have their hairdresser just cut a few little, what we call baby hairs in the front. So some of these hairs, just a little bit, to give a little bit of wispy softness right there, even if they're wearing like a long bang over or curtain bangs, gives a little bit more of a natural feel because this hair is quite long and that doesn't suit everyone. So if they have the hairdresser just take a little bit of hair and create some baby hairs right there in the front, then it looks much more natural. So I'd like to demonstrate, if this is a good time, James, I'd like to demonstrate how to put a topper on and the most common mistakes I see that happen when people are trying to put their toppers on. So the first thing you want to do is yes.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
There we go. Okay. So you're going to want to open all your clips so that they're all ready. Obviously, when you get it and decide to keep it, you would take this little tab and the tag off. I'm not going to do that.
And that shows where the back is because we still have questions like which is the front and which is the back.
Yeah, that's true. You can leave it on or just cut it so it's a little bit longer. Usually the back will have a thicker piece of polyurethane across the bottom of it. So usually you can tell it that way. I like to cut these little tags off, being careful to separate all the hair out of them so that you don't cut any of this hair off that you paid for. You don't want to do that. So when you go to put it on, you can either just go behind your head like this or do it my way, which is just whip it. And you're going to find the area that's right behind your natural hairline. So one finger or two fingers back is perfect. Then hold that clip up, like so it's straight up, and you're going to just scoop a tiny bit of hair and snap it down. So the biggest problem that I see people do when they're putting a hairpiece on for the first time is they take this clip, they hold it right here, they put it on, and then they drag it back and snap it down. You do not want to do that. Don't drag it back because it creates a really poor transition between your hair and your biological hair and the hairpiece. So you're just going to take that front clip and you're just going to do a tiny little scoop. Almost think of like dipping a chip in dip. That's basically the motion. Just really small motion, and grab that hair and snap it down. Then you'll put your fingers along the edge. You'll be able to feel that front edge and find the next two clips, snap them down. Again, follow the edge back, find the next two clips, snap them down. This is the Clio medium that I'm trying on right now, and then the back clip, and you would snap it down. Now, once that's on, obviously this isn't my color, but that hair is not going anywhere. I can pull it. Nothing's going to happen. It's not going to fall off. I don't even feel it on my head. And it just moves and blends in. If this was the right color for me with my bio hair, you wouldn't be able to tell that I was wearing a topper whatsoever. Now, the nice thing about like the toppers here is that you can put your hair up because you're not dealing with like the sides of a wig. Part of your bio hair here becomes part of the style. So if you want to wear your hair up, you can just easily put it up. Now my hair's short, so this doesn't really work, but you could put it up and include the topper as part of your style while you have that coverage on the top. And then you have a nice thick ponytail or a nice thick messy bun if you want to do that, because that's really popular right now. To take it off, just reverse the process. Just unclip all the clips, work your fingers along the edge of the hairpiece. You'll feel the clips, and then just gently lift it off. If some of your biological hair is stuck, gently work it out. Don't pull your bio hair out. People try to rip them off the top of their heads. That's not good. You just want to gently take it off. And then close your clips back down. And store it. And the reason you close them back down is so that this hairpiece hair doesn't get caught and tangled in them, because the hair doesn't do you any good on the inside of the topper. It only does you good if it's on the outside of the topper.
That was an amazing demonstration, and then you ended it with a very common solution to a common problem, which a lot of, including myself, in the office, I'll like leave one unclipped, and then the hair will get in there, and then I'll clip it in, and then I'm like, then you got to unclip it and get the hairs out, and it's always a chore to get the hairs out, and then it sort of messes with the style as well. So I'm glad you put that in. And
Right.
your demonstration, it was so cool seeing it, and the words you were using. I just picked out four things, 4 steps. I heard open, whip, scoop, and snap. It was like,
Snap, open, whip, scoop, and snap. You don't really have to whip it. I like to, but because I feel like it gives the hairpiece more fluff. But if you want to just be really gentle, you can just do this too. You don't have to whip it. You can just bring it behind your head, swing it behind. Yeah. And then it's the tiniest motion to get that first hair. It's not a big pull it back. That's the biggest thing that I see people do wrong when they're first getting a topper, is they just pull it back. The other common thing that people have problems with is they get it on and maybe they didn't get it quite in the right spot, or they've got a little bit of lump on it. One of the things that I really like about your toppers, James, is that you don't have to, oh, well, because the polyurethane edge is so thin, it's really forgiving. So even if it has like a little lump there, it's not a big deal. Just unclip the clip that's closest to it, stretch it a little bit, reposition it, and snap it down. So, or they didn't get it quite, like they put it on, but it's over here. So they can keep the front clip clipped, unclip these other clips, and just re-snap them. They don't have to take it completely off and start over. As long as the front's in the right place, they can maneuver it on their head. So if they get a little bump because it got a little too pushed up or something, they can just undo the clip, stretch it out, clip it back down. Very, very easy. And that's nice because some of the toppers with the big polyurethane edges, you can't do that. You have to take the whole thing off and start over again. And that's hard.
yeah, they can be
It's frustrating.
very
Makes you want
very stiff as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this moves.
So thank you, Deborah. That was amazing. So we've covered a lot already on the human hair side. There's one other thing. I'm looking at another question. I mean, I'm gonna run through the list because you actually covered so many things. One of the main things I hear, and you use the word transition. So the transition from one base material to the other, and gosh, we did a lot with these toppers to make those transitions really invisible. Like you said, Deborah, we do under knotting at the front. Actually, we're doing it all around now, under knotting on our more
Yeah.
newer pieces, and we're coloring the very thin base material, the polyurethane. a light base material for the blondes, a brown base material for the brunettes, and then we make it a matte color as well. So when you're looking on top, you don't see a shine, because polyurethane, 99% of them are shiny. So we do
Right.
all that, but still, you still might see a little line, and that can really bother a lot of people. So even though we've done our best, otherwise it's just
Yes.
full lace and the thing could just rip apart. So we have to have some materials to hold the piece together.
Right.
And that it's an eighth of an inch,
Absolutely.
that little rim. And I gotta tell you how many, when we were developing it, how many people were like, don't do it. Even my factory was like, no, it's too thin, let's go big. I was like, no, let's keep it like that because we want it to sit flat. So if we want to hide that, is there any products we can use that you could recommend? And we'll do more videos with close-ups later on this, but is there a way to hide that
Right.
transition?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was a common thing in my salon as well. People were worried about that small transition. I'm going to say a couple things. One is people are not on top of you like that, looking at you that closely. If they are, they're in your personal space and you need to tell them to back off. But I mean, it's something that we see, and if it bothers us, it's going to affect our confidence, and we're not going to want to go out. So I like to use like a root cover up, a root touch up, either a powder or a spray. Style Edit has a nice one, a spray one, and Color Wow has it almost looks like eyeshadow, basically, with a little brush, and it's very precise. You can put it right on that front part, and that will eliminate that look. You won't be able to see that transition at all. And the bonus is if you have any natural sparkles coming in, your natural gray hair, it'll cover that as well, which is nice. Some people use something as simple as eyeshadow and just put it on there, just to give it that little bit of a little bit darker root right there to make it look more natural, like it's coming out of your head. People use fibers, they use Topics. I think there's X-Fusion is another one. The problem with those is they can be really messy and they're not particularly precise when you put them on. So I prefer something that I have more control over, especially if the transition is like right in the front. You don't want to put a big thing of X-Fusion or Topics on there and have it come all over your face. You've just done your makeup, your hair's the last thing to go on. So I like something that's really precise. So I use the Color Wow, and it comes with a little brush. It looks like an eyeshadow brush, but it's specifically designed for the hair, which is what's nice. Eyeshadow's designed for our skin, not our hair. So you can put it right on that. And you could also go along your part line if you wanted to, because that will give it a little more of a natural finish. With the French top, you never have that problem in the part line because the French top looks exactly like human skin. So you'll never have that issue. It's just that tiny little front edge that some people see, especially if they don't want any baby hairs cut or any bangs of any kind, any fringe. So they put a little bit right there. It works beautifully. You just disguise it. It's never a problem. And if they have a lace base, which is doesn't have the French top, and they want that more natural part, there's actually hair makeup or makeup that's for wigs that you can buy, that you can put on the base, on the underneath part. I've got a lace base right here. You can put it on the underneath part, right where your part is, and it turns it a light color so it looks exactly like scalp. Or you can use silicone scar tape and just put it right along where your part is. It looks exactly like the scalp. Although I find most people with the dark hair, you never see any problem with, seeing knots or seeing the base, because it's already dark. Everything's all dark. So dark absorbs light, so you don't really see it. Where the lighter pieces reflect light a little bit, so you see that a little bit
And
more.
we'll be doing some close-up demos with 2 camera angles very soon with Deborah, showing these products and how they work, because it's such an area of questioning, like transitions. Like, I don't want to see that tiny little thing. I don't want it. No, it's not. No, there's a solution. There's a solution. So
Absolutely.
we're gonna go over that with scar tape and these products that Deborah mentioned, and some of the products. I think you've got to match it to the hair color. Is that right?
Absolutely, especially like the Style Edit or the Color Wow. Those come in a variety of shades, and you would match it as close as possible to the color of the hair, and that would it just makes it a seamless transition. I think Color Wow has like 5 or 7 shades, from very light blonde all the way down to
So
black.
all you need is one, maybe two, but one.
You
Yeah.
just need one. Yeah, you just
We're
need one.
gonna put links in the YouTube description for all of the items we're talking about. Hopefully you can find them on Amazon. They may not all be on Amazon, and we'll put the names in case the listing. Sometimes listings get removed from Amazon, so you could just search it in Google as well and find it there. So we've
Right.
really covered a lot on human hair, and I just want to ask one last question. What if the consumer has no bio hair in the front and they want to wear a topper?
I think they should look at a wig, honestly. If they have no bio hair in the front, the topper's not going to give them the coverage that they want. I mean, they could try, like we had a lot of clients with frontal fibrosing alopecia, where the hairline is just going back and back further, all the time. If there's nothing for the topper to hold on to, it's very hard for it to stay. I've never really seen a topper that would hold well enough, even with like the lace tape, um, that the client would feel confident and comfortable that it would be enough. If they don't have any bio hair, they probably should in the front. They probably should be looking at a wig. I mean, they could try it with the lace tape and tape it down, but they're going to tape that every day. It could irritate their skin. A wig with a wig grip is just so much easier. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's kind of in my practice. That's what I would suggest. Let's look at a wig, or like a 3/4 head, even something that was a wig, more like a wig in the front and came down to the occipital bone in the back and gave them more coverage that way. And there's a lot of products out there on the market. I know that you don't have anything quite like that, James, but
Well, we might soon.
really,
Yes,
do
we've got a few
tell.
things. We've got a few things in development. Not ready yet, but we may have some. We're just, we're really careful about bringing stuff out. There was a long time, for many years, we were just like pump out new product. We got to bring out a new product every year, but it wasn't all good and it wasn't all tested, and we're really led by what is the issue, what is the problem. Here's the solution, not like this is a good idea. It's not about our ideas. It's about what the consumers are telling us what they need, and it's always got to be comfortable. Like I like to wear sweats and comfortable things. I mean, I want everyone to be comfortable all the time. So
Right,
comfortable and look natural. So we take our time, but yeah, we've got a few exciting things in the works, which we'll
right.
reveal when we've got more samples and we're more ready.
Wonderful.
So we got so many things, and what you just said about wigs, this is a topper demo, but the same thing, many of the same things apply for wigs.
Absolutely.
Hiding that transition, concealing that transition, uh, getting the wig out the bag, out the box, it's going to look wiggy. It's going to look terrible, even a $10,000 wig, okay, unless it's been pre-styled
Absolutely.
by a stylist, right?
Right.
So some of the same things that are going to apply. So we've pretty much cut. If we can hop over to synthetic in a minute, is that okay? Do we have some more time with you, Deborah? Is that
Absolutely. I'm
okay?
going to put a synthetic piece on right now on
Great.
my
So
wig.
I'm just going to run through just to do a little recap of things that we covered with the human hair. So I toppers are going to look different after being washed. They're going to look way better after being washed and styled. Colors are going to blend a little bit. The shine is going to go. As Deborah says, you're going to wash off the factory and you're going to part it the same way, the way that you want it. Just be sure that you want to keep the topper before you do that, because we, ourselves and many other companies have, conditions for returns. So color doesn't match. Should I go lighter or darker? Um,
Lighter.
Deborah said go lighter. That's always better, also for the colorist and also your buyer. hair at the back, at the bottom is going to show too. Is my topper ready to wear when I get it? Absolutely not. Just go watch the beginning of this video, everything that Deborah does. And what if I don't have enough bio hair in the front? Deborah talked about some ways, some solutions, and if I've got absolutely no bio hair, a wig is a good option. And there are certain things like that can help with the transition, like scar tape and some products. Does makeup concealer, dabbing a little makeup concealer, does that work, Deborah, as well?
You have to make sure it's more of a cream concealer instead of a liquid concealer, because the liquid concealer will go out onto the hair. It'll just seep through out onto the hair. So a cream concealer is a much better product to use if you're going to do that. And there are availability of products that is specifically designed for hairpiece and makeup, or hairpiece and wigs, that you can find on Amazon. I see them all the time. They come in different palettes and of color, and you'd want to match close to your own skin tone for that, or your scalp tone.
And then we also covered, how do I get a custom color and a cut without leaving my house? We have Deborah.
Right.
She can do that for you. We can put you in touch with her after that. She can do face framing, cut-ins on toppers, and also low light, and even highlighting. That's amazing. That's really impressive. And how can I create a side part? How do I get rid of the zigzag? Deborah covered that in the beginning. She just very quickly, like with her spritz bottle and her hair dryer with the diffuser on it, she did that. What about temperature? Because I always hear Deborah saying, don't do too much temperature. Like, what's the kind of temperature we should be using on human hair toppers?
On human hair toppers, I don't like going over 350 degrees. Most of the tools that I showed you will have a setting that'll be, in degrees. You can tell what it is. If you don't have a setting, go for medium, not high, because high can be up to 450 degrees. I mean, that's the temperature we toast bread at. We don't toast your hair, and the thing is, like, a hairpiece hair has already been processed. It's already in a more fragile condition than your biological hair. So you want to treat it as gently as possible. I really don't recommend anything over 350 degrees. And even that's pretty hot. 300 is...
That's really hot. So 350 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 176.667 degrees centigrade for the English ones. It's good to have a temperature gauge on your heat tools, especially the curling iron and the flat irons. A lot of them don't.
Yeah.
Otherwise, on some of them, they have 3 settings: light, medium, and like extra hot or something, high, right? So use the medium or low even. Yeah. And you also mentioned earlier, it's better to air dry your human hair pieces and let them dry naturally.
Absolutely.
And
as much as possible.
As much as possible. And consumers I speak to that somehow miraculously get like such long life out of their wigs. One in particular, she wears the Hair 23, which is extremely long. I mean, it's a lot of hair, 23 inches. It is like really, really beautiful and long. She says she doesn't use any heat. I think she doesn't use any heat on it, or like very seldom, and she gets a lot of lasting wear out of her wigs.
It was not uncommon for me to have clients that had toppers that were 2, 3, 4 years old, and they still looked new because they took good care of them and they didn't use too much heat and they didn't put too much hairspray on them, and they didn't do a lot of things that would dry them out. They didn't expose them to the sun. They didn't, as much, and they got a lot of longevity out of them, which is wonderful. I like to be a good steward of my clients' money. I don't want them overspending on something that they don't need to.
And that's right. And we covered like what if the hair falls on my face in the beginning of the video, how you can style it away right out the bag, even without shampooing and conditioning. And you talked about how to use the spray conditioner, the revitalizing conditioner for the synthetic, and the leave-in conditioner for the human hair, and what it does. And there's one thing and then transitions, but there's one thing we didn't go over. I've sometimes hear like, oh, I've got these like short hairs that are like popping out and sticking out all over. This is terrible. You've got broken hairs all over. I've heard things like that. What's going on? Like these flyaways. Can you tell us about that and how to and what the solution is for that?
Absolutely. They're not broken, first off. It's called a return hair. And whenever something is handmade, they have to tie the hair onto the hairpiece. So you'll have a piece of hair, let's say this is a 14 inch. So the actual length of hair that they use could be up to 19 inches of length. They bring it through the mesh. They leave another 4 to 5 inches on the other side. They tie their knots and then they leave it down. What that creates is a very natural looking hair growth, because on our own biological hair, whenever our hair is growing, we have it at all various lengths throughout our hair. There's some that's really short, there's some that's medium, there's some that's the full length. And that's the same with the toppers. What you don't want to see is really short return hairs, because those are very hard to deal with. But if you have some that are flyaway and laying down, I would say probably put a little bit of your leave-in conditioner on or revitalizing mist, lay those down and let them dry, or blow them with the directional blow dryer. It's the nozzle, because if you're putting it on and you're blowing it, they're gonna jump up. So, but with the directional nozzle, you're not gonna have that problem. Some people who have that after they've dried and styled, they have a couple, either use a tiny little bit of hairspray or a pomade, a styling pomade, which is like a wax. You don't need very much. You just put it on your hands and put it through, and it'll lay those return hairs right down. Return hairs are a good thing. Return hairs make a hairpiece look natural. And as you know, as a stylist, the shorter hair pushes the long hair. So it helps it to be more voluminous and full. So if you're looking for a fuller style, which is why most people are wearing hair anyhow, they want more volume or more fullness, the return hair is really a good thing. It's when they're, sticking out that can be annoying, but with a tiny little touch of pomade or a little bit of your leave-in conditioner, comb it through and lay them down, they'll lay down perfectly for you. But you definitely want to have those return hairs. You just don't want short ones. 3 to 5 inches is ideal.
We use 3 to 6 inches. We do 3, 4, 5, 6, a variation all over, and on our toppers and wigs. And I think what many consumers may not be aware of them, because most toppers are machine made and with the tracks that go around, and the machine made are great. There's so many great things about them, and they don't have return hairs. So the length is going to be all the same everywhere. So it might be like, wait, what are these return hairs? And we had a great conversation a couple of days ago. Yesterday, was it, Deborah? I love talking to Deborah. We can just talk forever. We just talk about hair all the time. And we were talking about these flyaways, these return hairs. And Deborah, you were saying that they're the most sensitive hairs, right, on the topper?
Yes, absolutely. Because think about I'm thinking of the word Remy. Okay, Remy hair. Remy hair means the cuticle is all going in the same direction. If the cuticle is not going in the same direction, it's going to tangle with the other hair next to it. Well, when they tie it on, that end of the hair that is left, the return hair, has had to have been processed to remove some of that cuticle, because if it's going the wrong direction, you're going to get matting and knotting and all kinds of tangling up at the crown area. That's not what we want. So that hair has been processed a bit more than the hair of the length. So you want to be really gentle with it, because it's lost part of the cuticle. It's not as strong as the length of the hair, but it's still very necessary. You just want to treat it gently. Don't rough it up. Don't if you can help it. Did that answer the question, James?
Yes, exactly. So as we were talking this through a couple of days ago, I'm like, of course, the return hair has to be more processed, means stripped of more or all cuticles. So when it hangs down, it doesn't tangle with the other long hairs. So that means with less cuticle or no cuticle, it means the hair is going to be more susceptible to humidity and dryness, and especially over blow drying the hair is probably going to make them fan out a bit, and they're going to get static as well. So this is just the the workings of a handmade, a hand-tied topper, and you know what we've got to do, and just some education on what they are and how they are. They're definitely necessary. They definitely help with styling and volume. Without them, it's just going to be a completely flat piece. But
Right.
this is what happens, and we have products to help smooth them out and tame them out, and less heat is your friend.
Is your friend. That's why I really recommend letting them dry naturally too, because they're not going to poof out if it's been dried naturally. It just can't happen.
Exactly. So, do we have some time to hop into some heat-friendly toppers? Um, we've got a bunch of
Absolutely.
questions that we gathered over the last few weeks and in our chat. By the way, the chat is the best thing ever. Website chat. I mean, it says we're closed from like, I don't know, after 5 p.m., but I'm often on it at midnight. It's me that's replying to you, or 11 p.m. randomly,
Oh,
or on a weekend. So. It's not 24 hours, but this is where we get a lot of these questions from. So same kind of thing. I don't know if we need to go into it as much with the human hair because we're kind of running out of time. But how do I style a heat-friendly synthetic topper out the bag and get rid of the zigzag part? Is it the same technique? What can you tell us about that?
same technique. Yep, same technique. It'll come with your zigzag part. So this one still has the zigzag part in it. I'm going to push her down a little bit further so you can see. And I'm going to spray it with some water or the revitalizing mist. And I'm going to comb that back to move that hair in the direction that I want it to go. So we'll comb it back. I should say fiber. It's not actually hair, it's fiber. Spray it with a little more water. And I'll use my directional blow dry again to blow it back. If you were just holding it in your hand, you would just hold it like this and blow it down so that the hair is moving back. If you don't have, you know, a topper block or a wig block or a foam head yet. But if it's on the foam head, it's really easy. And then you also get to pretend that you're a hairdresser, which is really fun. So I'm going to get that hair moving in the same direction that I want it, back, away from the face, so it's not all falling forward and feeling really heavy in my face.
I see you're really using your fingers and your nails
I
as
do.
well.
Yeah, I use my hands as styling tools a lot. You know, I
Wow.
just feel like it gives it a
Wow.
more natural look. And then when it's dry, you've got more volume, the part is changed. You've got a nice straight part there now. And that's so easy to do to get the look that you're looking for. Again, it's the direction. Remember that all hair direction comes from the root. If the root is moving in the right direction, the hair will move in the right direction. And it does the same for the synthetic as well.
Was this topper washed before, or was this like
No,
okay? So that's
these are
amazing.
straight out of the.
So what would the difference be if you washed it and styled it? Would it style any different?
It would be fuller. Synthetic, not as much, because synthetic is kind of how it is. Plus, the synthetics have more hair on them than the handmade human hair topper. They're a little heavier, so you're going to have pretty much the same. It's just going to be able to really direct the hair to where you want it to go. Shampooing the synthetic.
And can we make a left part, a middle part, a side part on the Clio synthetic toppers?
You can put it anywhere you want. That hair is in there 360 degrees, so you can move your part over. When I change my part on a hair piece, I'll comb it all back. I comb the hair all back, and then I go from the front where I want the part. Let's do a right side part, and I draw my comb all the way back,
Wow.
and then I part it.
Look at that.
It just goes right in.
Wow.
Very
And you haven't
easy.
even washed it.
Yeah,
This is great.
I have not shampooed this hair. I haven't shampooed any of them. They all still have
So
on them.
is it wet? Because did you spray a bit with the spritz?
Yeah, I spritzed it a little bit, so it's got a little bit of dampness here. That's why I brought the dryer out again a little bit to dry that. But you don't have to. You could comb it into that direction, and it'll dry too. So I'm gonna. Get that all dry.
And also, I want you to notice how Deborah is combing it. She's like, she's not aggressive. She's like really lovingly, like smoothly combing it and
Absolutely.
not digging the bristles of the comb too deep in, because if you did, it might get stuck in the base and
It could
maybe
get
even
stuck
tear
in
the
the base.
base.
And if you tear the base, I mean, it could possibly be repaired depending on how bad the tear is, but usually it's not good if they have to get
Yeah,
repaired.
not good.
Not good. So yeah, if
And
you come into a knot or something, just stop, go below it, and work that knot out. Because if you keep going down,
can you hold the hair up? Yeah, and show us again.
so if
Yeah.
you come into a knot, you're going to want to stop. Don't keep packing the knot down tighter. You're going to stop and go to the bottom and start working it out. Because if you keep combing from the top and it's knotted, you're just going to make that knot even tighter. It's like compressing it, packing it in. So you don't want to do that. You want to just go from the bottom and comb it out and get that knot out.
Sometimes if I find that the hair's been sitting on my desk and it's gotten really knotted, I'll grab it in a ponytail, and so that nothing is affected from the cap, and I just brush out the bottoms like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always treat that cap gently. You don't want to, sorry, I got a notification on there. There we go. Always treat that cap gently, so you don't want to rip or tear the cap because they're very hard to repair.
So we talked about tangling, styling it. You just really whipped in like, I don't know how many different parts already, so quickly. And how to style, get rid of the zigzag part. What about heat?
You can use
How
heat.
about heat?
300 is probably as much as I'd go on a synthetic. It's just like anything else, the more heat you use on it, the more damage it's going to be. I know that they're rated to higher than that. I personally wouldn't risk it. I like to treat everything really gently. So one thing that I like to do, one thing I get a lot of questions on is curling. How do you curl a synthetic? So synthetic hair is different than human hair.
Yeah, curling. We've had a lot of consumers say, it's not curling, it's not holding a curl, I'm sending it back. It's
Okay.
supposed to be heat friendly, it's not working.
Right.
All right,
So it
so
doesn't
here we
have
go.
the hydrogen bond, which is the same thing that reforms when you're curling human hair. It reforms the hydrogen bond inside the hair shaft. So you have to treat it differently. So you're going to put your curling iron in and work it down. And then don't just let it go. Take it off of the curling iron. Whoops, I let that one go. Got to try that again.
That's how you don't do it. This is
Don't do
good. You
it that
showed
way,
us.
right?
Don't do that.
Don't
This
do
is
it that
great.
way. Curl it down. And then let the curl fall into your hand and either clip it or hold it until it cools. I'm going to clip this so I can move on to the next one. And these are just little tiny prong clips. I'm going to move to the next curl while that one cools down. But if you just let it go, it's going to be straight.
Right. That's the step that I think the consumers were missing, because it's different with human hair, right? When you're
Very
curling.
different with human hair. They have human hair has a hydrogen bond inside that reforms with the curl, but a synthetic does not have that. So you curl it and then you have to let it dry, or not dry, I'm sorry, cool. You have to let it cool down. The other thing that's interesting about synthetic is that if you have it curled, when you shampoo it, it's still going to be curled when it dries. Because that, again, the hydrogen bond doesn't change. So,
And you didn't add any water, you're just doing it heat
nope,
directly onto
on
the hair.
piece. So let's see, it's still a little bit warm. But if you let
So
them,
you wait till it cools.
you wait till it cools.
Yeah.
When you take it down, it'll have that beautiful beach wave in it that is so popular today. Everyone loves the beach wave.
So how long would it take to do a whole topper if you wanted to curl it with these beach waves on a synthetic topper?
You could curl it in about 5 minutes and then give it about a 5-minute cool down and then take it out and it'd be perfect.
What if you clipped all of the curls you did and then left for 2 hours and came back? Would that be okay?
Yeah, it's going to be fine. It's not going to change. Let me see if this still, no, this one feels cool now. So I'm going to take this first one down.
Oh, look at that. We got our, oh, lovely. We got our wave.
We've
Very
got a big
nice.
beach wave.
Yeah. And if you wanted a tighter one, how would you?
This one I made a little tighter.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And I like how it's straighter on the top and then goes into a curl down below, which is always good to do. Oh, and you're combing it through. It's always good to do, especially with a handmade piece as well.
Right.
Because, you know, if it's all the curls coming right from the top, it's not going to look great on a hand tied
curl
piece.
comes right from the top. This one wasn't quite cooled yet, but I took it down and you can still see the curl in it. Yeah. So that's the way to get a curl in a synthetic topper. But what most people do is they will curl it and then they just let it go and it just goes straight because there's no bond inside the hair shaft that's reforming.
And if you want to do a really tight curl, do you need a different curling iron or could you use the same one?
1.25 inches, so this one's big, but you can get a small one and do the exact same process, a smaller curling iron. Yep. And if you didn't want to use a curling iron, you could set it in rollers and steam it with a steamer and let that dry and cool. And once it's dried and cool, then you could take that down and get a roller set. Because we had a lot of people that would bring them in to have the hairdressers work on them. Look at that, nice. Got the curl. And then after you shampoo it, it's going to still be curled, which is amazing because you're not. It's okay. Oh, so after you shampoo it, you're still going to have the wave in it. So let's say you don't want that wave anymore and you want to wear it straight. So then what you're going to have to do is spritz it with a little bit of water and either use the heat of your blow dryer and a round brush. And blow it smooth. To get that curl out. You could also use a flat iron because I'm using steam basically to smooth it, or you could use with that technique I just showed you, or you could use a flat iron and just gently go down and it's perfectly smooth again.
Wow, look at that. Amazing. So you can only do this with heat-friendly synthetic. If you added heat to a regular synthetic piece, it would burn up and frizzle out and
it will melt.
Yeah.
No
it will
question.
melt. It will melt.
Yeah, because it's just plastic, basically nylon, but yeah, it'll probably just melt.
That was amazing. So you showed us human hair topper and synthetic toppers, how to style them. You use the same head, the same pins, the same hair dryer. So you only need to buy all your equipment once. And I always say the good thing about the heat-friendly toppers, they're a great way to start wearing a topper if you don't want to do the investment of human hair. And it's also a good backup topper for your human hair topper for the gym, you know, or worst case scenario. So it's always good to have a backup. And the cool thing about the Clios, we have the same colors in the synthetic as the human hair. So if you buy a nutmeg rooted in the human hair, you can get it in synthetic. And also we have the same base sizes, same. You know, same, but different, as some say. You know, just the hair.
Yeah.
You know, you got the synthetic hair, same base construction, also hand tied. So we try to make it simple and easy.
Fabulous. I'm sorry, I talked over you. Synthetics are fabulous for people with gray hair because getting human hair in gray is next to impossible. So synthetic is a great way to go if you have gray hair.
That's correct. That is correct. We have 3 gray colors as well. Wow, I cannot believe how much we covered. That was
Amazing.
unbelievable. That's amazing. And then the same thing with transitions.
Same
Would you
thing.
do the same thing on a
Yep, the same
synthetic topper?
process.
Okay.
Like the wow color powder. Yep, I would do the exact same thing. The one thing I want to point out about synthetics is that if they're longer and rubbing on your shoulders, the ends could get a little bit frizzy. So you'd need to either buy a steamer or take it to a wig salon and have them steam that out of there. And if sometimes they get so bad that they have to just be cut a little bit shorter, if it's long and rubbing on anything, because it's just a fiber and it's going to rub and go, rough it up like any sort of fiber would do. So, and don't forget your revitalizing mist with the toppers. It's great for styling for the synthetic. It's great for styling. Or if you put it on and it's just not doing what you want it to do, spray a little revitalizing mist through, and it smooths it right down for you.
And those burns, or when the hair gets all frazzled at the ends, the revitalizing mist can actually bring it back. If you take we've even tested it on a non-heat friendly synthetic wig that a lady went close to an oven and it just got all frazzled up. We used a heavy dose of revitalizing mist and a clothes steamer, and we actually got it out.
Yes.
So you can bring wigs back, back to
Yeah.
life with that. Just don't spray it near the base area,
Don't spray it by
whatever you do.
yeah. Don't put anything by the base, basically, except shampoo. And that brings me to another point. When you are shampooing, you only have to shampoo your topper after like 10 wearings. You don't have to shampoo it more often than that. You'll get a lot more life out of it if you limit the shampooing to about every 10 wearings.
And what are the factors that would make you want to shampoo and wash your topper?
Say you went to a restaurant that had strong smells. It got into the topper a little bit. You can smell it whenever you put it on. That would be a reason that you'd want to shampoo it. Or smoke, same thing. Smoke. Some people work out a lot and it gets sweaty. But remember, when we sweat, we don't sweat dirt. We sweat salt, basically. So you can do it with you can still use it like that, but after a while it just gets too crusty and you need to shampoo it. Or if it's just really just not looking good anymore, that would be the time to shampoo it. But I think to have it look its best about every 10, after you wear it about 10 times, go ahead and shampoo it. And that'll keep the hair looking smoother. The shampoo, not on synthetic, but on human hair, the water moisturizes. I mean, it keeps it looking better because it'll dry out without any help from us. It'll start drying out the hair. So after about 10 wearings, it's ready. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, we've got to do this again. This was amazing. We're gonna do actually again next week. Deborah's coming in, and we're gonna do loads of videos with close-ups. But we just wanted to get this to you fast. The webinar, we're gonna try that again. And any questions, ask away in the comments. We're gonna add links to things you might want to purchase, like supply tools that can help you. And also, anyone who's interested in Deborah's services, reach out to us, CSVA at dimplesusa.com, CSVA at dimplesusa.com, or info at dimplesusa.com. And then we will connect you with Deborah, and Deborah can help you with all your things. And if you want, do you have a site for consumers or for
My site right
styling?
now is just for education. It's fullstrands.com, but it just shows my education. I'm going to have the customization added to it. It's not up yet, though.
No problem. We'll get anyone who wants to do styling and cutting, coloring direct to you, and then you can do your thing with them, which is going to be great.
Marvelous. Well, it's been very
All right.
fun. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Deborah. You're awesome. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.